Have you ever truly stopped to think about what that green piece of paper in your hand, the US dollar, actually is? Most people call it the world's primary currency, but financial historians and real-world economics professors give it a far more striking title: an expired, unbacked promissory note. Today, I am going to take you through a massive saga that stretches from the printing presses of Washington to the corridors of New York's stock exchanges, from the wages of Roman legionnaires to the high-stakes games of Texas billionaires. This is the story of silver, the money of the people, a cornerstone of wealth protection that has been cast into the shadow of gold. But the real question is, why are billionaires and central banks whispering so quietly about silver while they deplete physical stocks at a record pace? Perhaps a wealth transfer you aren't supposed to see is right at your doorstep. Maybe, just maybe, a silent revolution has already begun. We begin this story with one of the most piercing questions of our time. If you had a silver dollar from the year 1900, specifically the famous Morgan dollar, in your pocket today, the value of that silver would buy you a multi-course dinner at the world's most luxurious restaurant. However, if you had chosen to save that $1 paper banknote instead of spending it, that same dollar wouldn't buy you even a glass of water at that same restaurant today. This is the definition of real money that banks and governments hide from you. Paper currency melts away in the face of inflation, but silver has preserved the stored labor within it for thousands of years. If you want to learn these overlooked financial truths and discover how to protect your capital in this chaotic order in the simplest way possible, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Avenue Wealth. Here, we don't chase fantasies. We chase the proven facts of history. Turn on the bell notifications so we can navigate the approaching financial storm together. Now, let's go back to how the greatest robbery in history began. When we look at the foundations of the United States, we see that silver was not just an ornament, it was the system itself. The Coinage Act of 1792 defined the US dollar in terms of silver. In other words, the dollar wasn't just backed by silver, the dollar was silver. However, a major rupture occurred in 1964. The administration of Lyndon B. Johnson completely removed silver from the coinage in circulation. The US government needed liquidity to finance the Vietnam War and expanding social programs. They reduced the silver content of money and replaced it with worthless nickel and copper. This was the start of the Great Robbery, where the purchasing power of the American people began to be siphoned away. Today, looking at that massive debt mountain exceeding $34 trillion, can you see where these paper notes are headed? This is exactly how the Roman Empire fell. First, they debased the silver in their coins, and then the empire was erased from the map. So why silver? Why not gold? There is a very clear rule in the financial world. Gold is the money of the elite, but silver is the money of the people. Gold is for preserving massive fortunes across generations. However, silver is the guarantor of daily trade and survival. In French, the word argent, and in Spanish, plata, both mean both silver and money. To understand the significance of silver in American history, we must first look at the famous Hunt brothers from Texas. In the late 1970s, Nelson Bunker Hunt and William Herbert Hunt realized that the US government was destroying the value of the dollar through inflation by printing money without limit. While everyone is chasing paper money, we will chase silver money, they said, and they cornered nearly 1/3 of the global silver supply. 10 years later, in 1980, when the price of silver skyrocketed to $50 an ounce, the Federal Reserve, Fed, and exchange management panicked because an uncontrolled rise in silver meant the collapse of the paper dollar. They did something that was considered highly unethical at the time. They changed the rules mid-game, banned silver buying, and forced the market to crash. Now ask yourself, if silver were truly just a worthless metal, would governments go to such lengths to stop it? People are missing the core reality. Silver possesses a secret weapon that even gold does not: an indispensable industrial power. If you use an iPhone, own a Tesla, or have solar panels on your roof, you are dependent on silver. Relative to its price, silver is the best electrical conductor in the world, and there is no cheaper alternative that can take its place. While the modern world talks about a green energy revolution, it is actually talking about a silver revolution. More than 50% of the silver produced annually is consumed by industry. And here is the most striking part. Once gold is mined, it is stored in vaults as bullion. However, silver is utilized and consumed in technological devices. Recycling the silver in solar panels is so costly that most of the time this silver ends up in landfills. In other words, while the amount of silver above ground decreases every day, finding and operating new mines under the ground is becoming nearly impossible. So, how does it feel to know you hold both the safest money in history and the most critical raw material of the future? We are faced with a massive financial paradox. While silver reserves are rapidly depleting, why do prices still appear so suppressed on exchange screens? This is the great secret of the paper-silver market. 99% of the silver traded on exchanges like the COMEX in New York is not actually physical metal. It is just a piece of paper. Banks sell silver they do not physically possess on paper to keep the price down. This is like a spring. The more you compress it, the more violently it will snap back once physical stocks run out. One day, a major tech company or a sovereign state will say, "I don't want your piece of paper, give me my physical metal." And when the exchange replies, "We have no silver left," the greatest explosion in financial history will begin. When that day comes, would you rather hold a paper contract or the real, heavy, lustrous silver sitting in your safe at home? Today, the United States is in a debt trap exceeding $34 trillion, and the Federal Reserve prints more dollars every year just to pay the interest on this debt. As debt increases, the value of the dollar falls. Historically, the gold-to-silver ratio was around 15 to $1. This meant you could buy $1 ounce of gold with 15 ounces of silver. Today, this ratio is over 80 to 1. In a rational market, this implies that silver is either incredibly cheap or gold is incredibly expensive. However, considering its industrial utility and diminishing stocks, the move silver makes to correct this imbalance could trigger one of the greatest wealth transfers in history. Welcome to the secret harbor of the wealthy. At Avenue Wealth, we don't just look at today's headlines, we look at the lessons brought by centuries. The fact that during the German hyperinflation of 1923, a family with just 10 silver coins could buy a factory or a bakery after the crisis is a painful historical lesson. In modern America, we may not be at that stage yet, but the reality is that our purchasing power is silently eroding every single day. Inflation is not just a number. Inflation is the theft of your time and your labor. Silver is history's strongest wall against this theft. Ultimately, silver is not just a metal. Silver is a declaration of financial independence. While the system tells you to spend, borrow, and trust the paper, silver tells you to save, own, and trust the reality. When the next financial storm hits, do you want to be holding a piece of paper or the real silver that has not been defeated by any imperial collapse in 5,000 years? Big investors are quietly accumulating silver. Industrial giants are desperately seeking it. Where will you stand in this picture? If this video has provided you with a new perspective and you want to base your financial future on real values rather than paper foundations, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to join the Avenue Wealth community. What do you think about this hidden world of silver and the approaching economic shifts? Let's meet in the comments. Every single one of your thoughts is valuable to us. Remember, wealth is never destroyed. It simply changes hands. And history has proven that wealth always moves from paper to reality. Open your eyes to the facts while charting your own financial course. See you in our next deep dive analysis. Stay safe.